Aberrus is out and it's quite an easy raid compared to most recent ones, so let's quickly go over all you need to do to beat every boss on normal difficulty. Kazaara is first, a pretty simple dragon. She marks players with rifts, move out of the raid and leave them there. She also pushes everyone away so don't get pushed back in the damage zones. Then the rings turn into lava areas and players get marked by a laser that will follow them and leave lava behind them too. Run away from the group with these two. And she's a dragon, so of course she does a fire breath, so don't stand in front of her. And as she drops health, her armor breaks and explodes, so dodge the small zones where it falls on the ground. And she does AoE damage to every player every couple of seconds, so some AoE healing would help too. The Amalgamation Chamber is next, starting with two elementals, a void one and a fire one. Split your group in two and tank them far from each other, since they both give a debuff that stacks up if you stay too close to them. It reduces your maximum health and gives you a dot, so if you get too much, everyone should swap the boss and move to the other side of the area. Or if geared enough, you can push through it. For the shadow boss, avoid all the purple zones and explosions on the ground, move out of the group with them too, and for the fire boss, dodge the fire tornadoes. When either one of the adds reaches 50% health, they merge into one, becoming a shadow flame elemental, doing a fire cone explosion that needs to be avoided, giving a few random players a bomb that needs to be moved out of the group that leaves a lava area behind, and creates tornadoes that need to be dodged. Keeps applying a debuff as well every 10 seconds that also gives a dot and reduces maximum health, and when reaching 100 energy, calls down a huge meteor that needs to be soaked by at least 5 players or everyone will take heavy damage, and then he leaves an explosion that should be avoided, and that's it. Just keep pushing before the debuff gets too high and your max health becomes too low. The Forgotten Experiment is a 3-part boss fight where you fight Draktyrs. The first one does a roar that you should move out of as far away as possible, has a charge that applies a bleed on a few players and anyone in their path, so move out of the group with this and spread out, has a massive slam in a frontal cone, move out of it, and all 3 experiments apply a stacking infused strike on the tanks. Tanks need to touch each other to remove it, causing an explosion. The second experiment casts a volatile spew, throwing arcane explosions on the ground, move out of them, infuses players with unstable essence, giving them a dot that grows over time, dispel this when it gets too high, causing an explosion and it will reset and move to another player, and leave a puddle behind on the ground. He also does an AoE damage to everyone. And the final experiment casts Disintegrate, dealing damage every second to the target's hit and players around them, and also lingers in a circle for a few seconds afterwards, so move out of the raid with this. Has temporal anomalies, sand orbs that need to be pushed by players. If they reach him, he gets a shield, so keep walking in them and don't let them reach the boss. And casts a deep breath that makes him fly across the arena, dealing damage to enemies in his path, so get out of this and don't stand in the middle. Assault of the Zaqali is an interesting fight. You fight the warlord boss in the middle until he reaches 75% health, then he flies on his big bird. This is when you split your raid in two, half on each platform, where the boss will keep cycling between the left and the right platform, and adds will spawn. The priority is the big ad with the fire shield. Attack it to break the shield, since it will keep casting AoE explosions that hit hard, and a bunch of other smaller ads will keep climbing. Rocks will appear on the ground, pick them up and throw them at the edge of the platform to stop some of the ads from climbing up. The boss will come down from the bird, having a frontal cone attack, and at full energy leaps on the other platform, dealing damage in his drop zone. Then he goes back in the middle and gets infused from the bird, healing and buffing him. This is where you use Hero and burn him down. He does a raid-wide AoE damage attack, so a bunch of AoE healing helps here, applies a red ring to people and then throws rocks at them, so spread out with this, and at max energy charges the gate that needs to be soaked by as many people as possible, so get on the gate and help soak this. Rashok is next. Tank the boss away from the center, since you will need to bring him here later. He does a slam on a random player, leaving a lava pool behind that will push away lava orbs too. Move these away from the raid and dodge the orbs. He will keep casting this. Don't put them on top of each other or they will trigger a massive explosion that will kill mostly everyone. And the previous lava pools will also spawn orbs whenever a new one appears. He also spawns missiles that need to be soaked, a charged smash that also should be soaked by melee, and a purple shadow lava blast in a frontal cone that needs to be avoided as well. The trick is to not let him reach 100 energy, so when he's close to 100, move him in the middle of the room to drain him of energy. This will make him cast an AoE explosion as well as lava dots on the ground, so don't stand in them. After he reaches 0 energy, the fight repeats and you need to get him back in the middle again when he's close to 100 again. 2 or 3 Danes should be enough to kill him. The vigilant Steward, Zskarn, is next. The floor is full of traps that will keep getting activated during the fight, leaving fire behind that you don't want to sit in. He also does a blast wave, so careful not to get pushed back into the traps. He occasionally calls ancient golems that will try to activate more adds, focus them and kill them as soon as possible. And after they are dead, they can be clicked to pick up spare parts, giving you an extra button that lets you deactivate a trap you are targeting. At 100 energy, he activates one or more of the dragon statues on the edges of the room, unleashing larger and larger waves of fire damage to every player in the blast range that will kill them. So move out of there and try to clear a path by deactivating traps and not get overrun by fire. And he also throws bombs on the ground that, if let to explode, deal damage to every player and apply a dot. So someone with immunity, like a paladin or hunter, should use their immunity and trigger them by walking into them to avoid the damage spread. That's it, just don't let the bombs explode, kill the adds and clear a path by removing traps in your way, and kill the boss before getting overrun by fire traps or by the dragon statues. Magmorax is a very cool looking boss, but also super simple, easier than the first boss, I would say. He does an igniting roar, applying fire damage on impact and leaving a dot behind, and throws some lava ejections. Those need to be soaked by players. He also targets random players with a big circle for a few seconds, and after expiring, they leave a magma puddle behind. Stand in this to soak it, to make it smaller until it disappears, or it will keep growing and take over the arena. He also has a fire breath, move out of his frontal cone when he casts this, and also a roar dot that will keep stacking, so kill him before it gets too high. And he has a stomp that pushes everyone away, so try not to take too long of a path in the lava. And that's all he does, quite an easy fight, just kill him before he kills you. Now it gets a bit harder. Echo of Neltharion is next with quite an interesting fight. He will create walls made out of rocks around the area, so everyone must stick together to not get pushed out of the fighting room. He then blasts players with rushing darkness, dealing damage and knocking them back. If colliding with a segment of a wall, it breaks it, leaving you room to get out, but also making it explode and deal raid damage. This is why the group should stack with a tank and decide if you are going to go clockwise or counterclockwise around the room, and just break small parts of the wall to let you go to the next part of the arena. He also applies Volcanic Heart on a few players, move out of the raid with this, also hits tanks with Calamitous Strike that also breaks walls if the tank collides with them, and when reaching 100 energy, he casts Echoing Fissure, shattering the ground beneath him and making that part of the area unplayable. This is when the entire group needs to move out to the next part of the room. Then at 60% health, he breaks all the walls, dealing AoE damage to everyone and creates new ones, then spawns 3 void adds that need to be killed. They empower him if left alive, and after breaking their shield, they do an AoE attack too until they're dead. So break the walls, get to them and kill all 3 as fast as you can. Afterwards he breaks all the walls again and creates new ones. And now he casts Sunder Reality 2, creating void portals that spawn adds, and he also casts Ebon Destruction. When he casts this, everyone needs to go sit on the void purple portals to not die, causing them to despawn, and then he just repeats this until he's dead. And finally, welcome to Sarkareth. This is where the fun begins. This guy has as many mechanics as all the previous bosses combined, and a lot of purple. So, phase 1. Glittering Surge deals heavy damage to all players around, then he casts an Oppressive Howl on every player that needs to be removed before reaching phase 2, or you'll get stunned and killed by a dot. This is easily removed by Mass Disintegration or Flaming Breath, and when removed it deals some damage to every player and leaves a dot behind. He leaves Scorching Bombs on the ground that explode a few times, dealing damage to nearby players, so move out of their range, and then explode, giving everyone a dot for a few seconds, and leave a lava puddle behind too. Mass Disintegration targets a few players, and after a few seconds throws a line of damage. This can be used to remove the debuff, and his Searing Breath deals a frontal cone of Flame Breath. This can also be used to remove the debuff, just stay in it when it gets casted and then move out. He also casts Burning Claws on tanks, dealing stacking damage, so tanks need to keep swapping, and when expiring it explodes in a Burning Nova. At 70% health he enters phase 2, introducing the Oblivion mechanic. When getting hit by most void abilities, you get a stack of Oblivion that gives you a dot, and at 10 stacks you get sent to the Shadowlands, I mean the emptiness between stars. He does this to pretty much everyone at the start of phase 2, and then you get sent here. You need to pick up 3 mind fragments to get out, and on the way there are tiny white orbs that if you pick up increase your movement speed and haste for a maximum of 10 stacks, so try to take as many as you can on your way of collecting your mind fragments. He also casts void bombs that need to be picked up and detonated here to not do damage, so whoever picks up the bombs must go into the purple swirling rings and get to the void land and explode the bomb here. He also does a flying void flame breath, so move out of that, and alts also start spawning. Cleave them together with the boss as they get buffed over time if left alive too long, and he casts void claws on tanks that also stack up in damage and reduce healing, and when expiring trigger a void blast, so tanks need to swap too. Phase 3 starts at 40% health, where he gets a cooler purple void form model and a bunch of purple abilities. The purple swirling areas are not here anymore, but there are still bombs. But now to get stacks of Oblivion, people that pick up the bomb need to get hit by 2 of the small purple falling meteors to get to the void realm. He also does a huge area cosmic ascension attack, move out of this before it falls down. Adds will still spawn, so cleave them down. And after dropping from the ascension, he spawns some purple rocks surrounded by purple lava that damages you if you stay on it. Tank the boss near one of the edges of the room so the rocks spawn closer to the middle of the area. He also spawns big purple void orbs on the edges of the area that will fire purple dots in a line, so move out of those too. And a big purple swirling ring on one player that needs to be soaked together with the group, that then leaves a purple explosion that you need to move out of before it explodes. When he casts Scorching Eternity, everyone needs to move behind the rocks in their lines to not get knocked out of the map. So that's why you need to get those closer to the center of the map. And he still hits tanks with Void Slash. Keep repeating the mechanics and try to tell apart all his purple abilities and you'll beat him. At least it's a pretty short fight. Overall it's quite an easy raid, but the encounters are fun and it doesn't feel horrible to pug on normal, which is good. Let me know what your favorite boss is from the raid. I hope this video helped you and thanks for watching.